Hello, Muslim friends in the world. Above Mecca, there is a patch of sky untouched by the wings of any aircraft. Not because of distance, not because aviation technology is incapable, but because Allah Himself has forbidden it. There stands the Kaaba, the axis of the world for Muslims. Millions of people circle it every year, from dawn until night, without pause. And above it stretches a silent airspace, as if guarded by an unseen force. Every pilot knows there is an invisible line separating them from that sacred sky. To cross it is to invite unimaginable risk. Yet one day, a man in the cockpit of his small plane decided to break that boundary. He didn't know that beyond the calm-looking blue clouds, his death was already waiting. That morning, the weather in Saudi Arabia was clear. The sky was blue without a single cloud. The single-engine light aircraft belonging to the Indian pilot flew smoothly. On the cockpit panel, the indicator needles moved normally, and the engine's hum was steady. But its flight path was becoming a concern. The control tower at King Abdulaziz Airport in Jeddah detected that the plane was heading straight toward Mecca. A firm voice crackled over the radio. "Attention, you are entering a restricted airspace. Change your course immediately." The pilot remained silent. No response. He simply stared straight ahead, as if captivated by something in the distance. Through the cockpit window, the Masjid al-Haram came into view. Black, majestic, surrounded by a sea of people performing tawaf. The second warning from the control tower came louder. "Turn away. This is a no-fly zone. Turn away now." But instead of turning, the plane increased its speed. Mecca grew closer, and the sky that had always been guarded was finally about to be touched. As the shadow of his plane passed over the Masjid al-Haram, everything seemed to change. The indicator lights on the cockpit panel began flashing wildly. The altimeter needle spun uncontrollably. The engine's once steady hum turned into a harsh roar, accompanied by violent shaking. The pilot panicked. His hands gripped the controls, trying to pull the plane away. But the yoke felt frozen. It wouldn't move an inch. Over the radio, the voice of the control tower came again, this time filled with urgency. "Mayday! Mayday! State your situation." No reply came, only the pilot's heavy breathing, mixed with muffled cries. Some pilgrims in the courtyard of the Masjid al-Haram looked up, seeing the aircraft spinning out of control in the sky. The next second, the plane plunged into a nosedive. Just minutes after flying over the Kaaba, its metal body slammed into the ground outside Mecca, triggering a massive explosion that shattered the silence. No one survived. All that remained were wreckage, smoke, and a haunting silence. For some, the incident was nothing more than an air accident. But for millions of Muslims, it was a clear and undeniable warning. Allah's prohibition is not merely a rule written on paper. It is a sacred boundary that cannot be crossed, no matter who tries. The sky above the Kaaba does not belong to mankind, nor to technology. It is guarded by a power unseen, yet undeniably real. Footage of the event spread rapidly across social media. Comment after comment flooded every post. This is no coincidence. This is a sign of Allah's greatness. Whoever dares to defy His command will surely perish. In that blessed land, millions of pilgrims continued their tawaf, seemingly undisturbed by the tragedy in the distance. The sky above the Kaaba remained silent, pure, and untouched once more. And the story of the pilot who dared to challenge that boundary became a dark legend that will be remembered forever. A few weeks after the incident, investigators released their official report. There was no technical damage that could explain why the plane had lost control. The aircraft's black box recorded strange sounds, static frequencies, then silence, as if the signal had been swallowed by something unseen. The pilot's family admitted he was not a religious man. In fact, before the flight, he had joked to a friend, "Let's see what God can do to stop my plane." That joke now sounded like a challenge that had been answered directly. The people of Mecca never forgot that day. For them, the sky above the Kaaba is not just a restriction, it is a boundary between the human world and the divine will. And in every sermon, this story continues to be retold, not to instill fear but to remind that the power of Allah never sleeps. Since that tragedy, the sky above the Kaaba has remained silent. No aircraft wings dare to pass, no engines dare to roar in that space. Not only because of international aviation law, but because of the fear and reverence now deeply rooted in the hearts of pilots around the world. For Muslims, this event serves as a reminder that there is a place Allah protects in His own way, unseen yet undeniable. Mecca continues to live in its sacred rhythm, adhan, prayers, and tawaf that never cease. And above it, the blue sky stretches pure, as if guarded by angels who never grow weary of flying. The pilot's story is now just a tale, yet every time someone looks at an aerial photo of the Kaaba, they will always remember there is a boundary that must never be crossed, and a power that can never be challenged. The tragedy in the skies over Mecca did not only shake Saudi Arabia. The news crossed continents, filled media headlines, and sparked discussions in aviation forums, international news outlets, and religious communities alike. For some, it was merely a mysterious accident. But for those with open hearts, it was a sign that there is a power beyond the reach of logic and technology. Pilots from various countries began talking about it. Some admitted feeling chills whenever their flight paths neared Mecca's airspace. Even non-Muslim pilots now hold respect for that rule, not merely because of regulations, but out of reverence for something greater than themselves. This story passed from mouth to mouth, becoming a modern legend of human arrogance brought low before the greatness of the divine. And perhaps it will be remembered until the very last generation on this earth. In Mecca, time moves on. Millions of footsteps continue circling the Kaaba, from dawn until night, never ceasing. The adhan echoes, resonating through the walls of the Masjid al-Haram, blending with the hum of prayers. But above it all, the sky remains silent, as if telling a story without words, reminding anyone who looks upon it that once there was a man who tried to challenge its boundary. There is no monument to remember the pilot, no plaque to record his name. All that remains is a story, carried by the desert wind, whispering to every heart willing to listen. Never challenge the power of the Creator. And for as long as the Kaaba stands, the sky above it will remain a sacred space, untouched and guarded forever.